Janice Price has been actually with us at the Orange County Department of Ed for over 9 years. She has over 20 years of experience in education. She's actually a credentialed health teacher. She's worked on state level project, but I really want to highlight the fact that she has extensive experience working in schools and helping really implement a lot of programming around health and wellness that has always incorporated family and community engagement. Lots of experience working with community partners and working directly with our families and our schools. And just a few short years ago, she actually became our family and community engagement coordinator here at the Orange County Department of Ed, and has really worked on bringing to light the various frameworks, tools, resources, and strategies for every single program at every single level in every single area that is working to support students to incorporate and highlight and expand on their family and community engagement. So I'm so delighted to hear from her. I know you're going to learn a lot from her, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about who she is and what she's all about, and you'll get to kind of feel her personality just in her presentation. So with that, Janice, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you. And it's an honor to be here. I was a learner like you too, learning about America's healthier generation and the assessment that's available. So now I get to come back and share with you just the things that I've experienced, the ways that have worked really well working with families, and then the nuances that have happened since COVID. There's a lot of changes that have been discovered of how to work well with families. So I look forward to sharing that with you today too. I was able to work with a lot of school districts in developing school site wellness committees. I was able to work with families where we created wellness weeks that were run by the wellness committee, which was mostly families and our community agencies. And those were some of my best memories when I got to work very closely, boots on the ground with our families. So I'm going to be sharing some of those experiences with you today too. As I do that, I wanted to start a little bit with a little bit more of who I am, because I think that that has so much to do when we start working with families. They want to relate with us and we want to relate with them. So that means we need to be a little vulnerable sometimes too. So this is my why and why I do what I do. I encourage you to think about doing things like this when you're sharing with families to find an immediate connection there. So I'm a mom. I have 2 boys. They're 14 and 12 now. So I write about how if you see me, I'm usually hanging out with them because I am taking any last minute that I have available with them before they don't want to hang out with mom anymore. Or I'm at the grocery store buying food, right? It's just where our reality is. I absolutely love being a mom, though. It's tough, work-life balance. I do have a background of being a health teacher, but I absolutely adore what a family brings to not only me, but to our community. So I bring all of that with the work that I do. The bottom right picture, though, is honestly where my heart is connected as well. That's my sister, Haley. She unfortunately passed away January of 2021 from diabetes. And as I love talking about her all the time, so I appreciate the time that you're giving me to share about her. It's because she's why I do what I do, where I became a health teacher because I wanted to know more about diabetes when she was diagnosed. I wanted to work in schools because I saw the struggles that she was having of wanting to have friends and be normal and not have to go to the nurse's office all the time. But yet I saw the struggles that she had. And then I saw the medical side of it too. And I'm only looking back on it now with the half glass full, because going through it was super, super tough. But I started to realize in my healing of losing my sister that she was the reason why I do what I do today. And so I just want to give credit to her and miss her dearly, but I'm so thankful for where we are today and the fact of like all of our families have this trauma. And we talked about that in that last session of having a suitcase and what's in that suitcase of trauma, and how can we take that and appreciate it, learn from it, recognize it with our families too. So I just wanted to share a little bit about this is my why. So hopefully you feel a little closer to me and I can feel a little closer to you when we get to meet next time too, that there's something we can relate with each other too. So what I'd like to do in the time that we have today is to ground us again in what family engagement, the definition of it, because for some people, it's having an open house and inviting families in and yay, we had an event and we engaged families. For some of us, it's we have parents, they're at the table, they're a part of the decision-making process, and we don't do anything unless we have families and students at that table. So there's a very big difference right now in our communities about what family engagement looks like. I also too have a lot of best practices to share with you that come from the dual capacity building framework. We're going to talk about shifts that can be made because we don't want to just say, oh, we're part of this program. We're going to think about wellness. And so we need to scratch everything we've done and start all over. We don't want to do that. We're not going to get a lot of buy-in that way either. However, we could look at what it looks like to shift some of the things that we're doing. And so we're going to talk about that. And then ultimately end with intentional planning and tools that you could be using to think about, maybe you're going to do a lot of planning this summer to think about what next year might look like. Some of you might even have time to do some low-hanging fruit activities too, though, that we might be talking about today before this school ends. So let's start with when we say family engagement, we have an idea of it, and then our families have an idea of being engaged. And this resource comes from Learning Heroes. I think this data is hopefully moving to you in a way where you go, oh my gosh, we really need to think about what's happening here. And that is that if you look at the percentages here, 92% of our parents in the school system across the nation will say that, oh, my child is doing well in school. I never hear from the school. I get the report cards. They must be doing just fine. 92% of parents are saying they must be at grade level. Only 26%, though, is the reality that are actually performing at grade level. So think about that for a second. Why is there a disconnect? And if you want to put in the chat, why do parents think that their child is at grade level, but the school is saying that they're not? Often it's communication. When do schools get to share, or when are schools taking the time to share with their families about performance or services? It's usually back to school night, report card season, parent conference season. That's going to be the time when schools will spend a lot of communication. So we really are looking at shifting how we work in schools so that parents are becoming a partner and that they know more about what's happening in the schools and that they're becoming a decision maker on the plans for where their students are going to be working in the school year. I'm thinking of it, my mind is remembering this wonderful statement that we need to think of families as partners and not patients, especially when we're talking about providing resources and tools for them. So this is a wonderful picture of the shared responsibility. And this was shared last presentation too. So I kind of wanted to ground us in that again, that we need to remember it's a shared responsibility, that the schools need to commit to having meaningful and interactive, that's a very strong word that we need to work on a little bit better, probably, engagement. But then the families need to commit to being supportive partners and that they hold ownership in being a part of that. So what do we need to do? What should we do to help this? And that's kind of where we're going to go from here.